Okay, so let's look at list. The idea you've already gotten from string and tuple will actually help for lists. It will help for lists. Is similar stuff. So is similar to what we've done before. Okay, so um this same thing. So, but how is a list different from a tuple? Remember, we said a tuple is immutable, meaning you can't update it, but it takes heterogeneous data type, meaning different data types together. But the only difference, or the most significant difference between a list and a tuple, is just that a list is mutable. So a list too can take different data types. It can even take another list, but it's mutable. Let's be muted, please. Okay. So that means that if I'm working with a tuple and I want to update the element, I can. Blossom, please, can you be muted? Can everybody be muted? Okay. So so the idea is that if I'm working with a tuple which is not immutable and I want to update it, just convert it to a list, because a list is mutable, meaning you can update the element of a list after you have already defined it. So we have a list here. So we have a list, sorry, we have a list here. So 1, 2, we have a string inside the list. We have another list inside the list. We have a float inside the list. To define an empty list, I can call L1 and pass in a square bracket. That's how you define a list. Remember, for tuple, you define it with a round bracket or parentheses, but for a list, you use a square bracket. Okay, so that would be empty list. Now this is a list. So if I have a tuple, let's say I have a tuple named, let's say a tuple of apple and banana. So, and I want to update the first element. I want to change it from apple to maybe cashew or any other fruit. Remember, if I say, okay, this is equals to another element, maybe cashew, it's going to be error. So we said the best thing is to convert that to a list, because we know a list is mutable. So I can say instead of tuple 1, I can name it a different variable so as to retain the other one. Maybe I can call it tuple1 underscore L, and then there is a function called list, a list function that will wrap the tuple. So what this will do, since I wrap the tuple inside a list, this will convert the tuple to a list. If you check the tuple1 underscore L now, you will see that it has been changed from a tuple to a list. So this now I can update it. I can now change the first element to cashew. So if I do that now and I call back my tuple1 underscore L, you can see it has now been changed from cashew to banana. And I can change it back to a tuple by wrapping it around the element called the function called tuple. As we have a list function, we also have a tuple function. So this change it back to now cashew and banana, which is now a tuple. So what I've just shown here is a tuple is not immutable, but to make it mutable, convert it to a list. That's what this line is doing. So always comment your code. So I can do, this line is doing convert to list. And then after that, the next thing, what do you do? Assign cashew to the first element, first position. Always comment your code. It might be painful, but always comment your code so that it will be readable for others. And even you, months after now, if you come back to your code, it will save you the stress of figuring out what you did. So I assign cashew to the first position, and then you can now you can comment that what we did here is that convert it back, convert it back to a tuple. So that way, if I come back to this code, or anybody who picked this code can quickly understand what you did, even if you are not there to explain. So it's a good habit to always comment your code, or we call it documenting your code. That's what it means. Any question on that? Are we good? Can I move on? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's move ahead with working with a list. So remember, this is a list, and for empty list, I already showed you, just assign it to empty square bracket. Unpacking is the same idea, the same way we unpack tuple. You unpack this element 1, 3 to variable A and B. You unpack element 2, 3, 1 to A, B, C, such that A is 2, B is 3, C is 1, the same thing. So let's look the same way of indexing, the same way we index a tuple, the same way we index a string is the same way we're going to index a list. If I want to access this last list, that's the only question I will ask on indexing here. If I want to access this last list in these Avengers, how do I do that? Quickly, anybody?
-1, sir.
Oh yeah, just
Colon
call up
minus
your
one. Avengers.
just Avengers and put -1. So that will give you the last list there, the last thing there. And then if you want to go ahead, you can assign this to a different variable and work with it. Okay, slicing is the same thing, using colon. The first two using colon, Avengers colon 2, things like that, is the same way we index the. I'm rushing through this so I can move to other things, okay? Because it's the same way we've done to others. Now, updating, I stylishly explain updating when I at the very first code cell up there. That, okay, suppose I want to change this third element, Captain, to Captain America. What do? Call your list, which is Avengers, specify the index, the position of the element you want to change. This Captain, which is at position 3, that's Python is 0 in there, so that will be 2 because it starts from 0, and then supply the new elements there. So that makes it, so if we now call on Avengers, we're now going to have Captain America in place of Captain. So that's how to update. Okay, any question on updating? Are we good? Awesome. So this one is, by the way, you want to delete an element from a list. You can use the del keyword, the del function. Okay, so but you have to specify the index of the element you want to delete, because if I say del space and I specify the variable, the list, it doesn't know what to delete. Okay, so specify, I say you want to delete the whole list, but specify the index of the element you want to delete. Suppose I want to delete the third one, I will just specify index 2. So if I do that and I call back my variable C underscore this, if I do that, you can see it has deleted Captain America from the list. So one thing with del is that you can't recover it again. Okay, so you can go and look, there's I won't talk about it, but there is a method called pop. It does the same thing, but you can still recover it. So you can look into that yourself. But delete, just specify the index into that variable, the index of the element you want to remove. Any question on that? Please let me know if you did not get anything. I'm only assuming you understood things we've talked about before. Any question? Okay. So one question here. We have 2 lists. How do I put these 2 lists together as a single list?
Colon append method.
Append. So we have Avengers 1. You put dots, append, and I put Avengers. You can see I'm using code completion, auto completion. If I'm doing that, just press tab. It will complete that for you if that thing exists. Okay, Avengers 2. Let's see. Oh, so let's call back Avengers 1 because we've just appended Avengers 2 to 1. No, this, I didn't type that correct. So what happened?
Avengers 1.
Oh, sorry. So now it puts the whole list inside it. That's partially correct what I want, but what I want it to be a single list, not a list of lists. What do you, so append is good. What append does, let me use this to explain append. It just puts all the entire list and go and put it at the end of the original list. But I
You
don't
can use
want to
extend.
extend. That's right. So that's the difference between append and extend. Let's see extend now. So if you do that and call Avengers 1 now, you can see. So now vision and sound has been, now, so that's the difference between append and extend. Append will carry the entire list and go and dump it at the end of the original list. But extend, is trying to enlarge the original list by adding the element of the new list to it. That's what extend is doing. So you might, but in most cases, append is popular than extend, and we'll be doing that when we do for loop and all of that. Please, you can be muted except you want to ask a question so that you don't the background noise. Okay, so that's the difference between an append and extend. Any question on that?
Can we still have the same output using the plus sign, as in just probably Avengers 1, probably new Avengers equals Avengers 1 plus Avengers 2 also.
Okay, yeah, like that's using concatenation method. Let's see.
Yes.
Avengers 1 plus Avengers 2. No, that's from me, my typographical error. Yeah, so that's doing exactly what extend is doing. So, but so do you notice that? Do you know the difference between these two? What do you think the difference is? So, okay, let me help you. So
Now this one is not Avengers 1. It's another one entirely. Unlike
exactly,
that Avengers 1 dot extinct, it's still
exactly.
Avengers 1.
So this produces another list for you, which you can save in a different variable. Maybe have a have, maybe we'll give it a new variable like that, because the concatenation method using plus will give you a new type of list. But if your goal is to extend the original one without changing it, then you will have to use extend, or you assign this to the original variable called Avengers 1. So that's just, it's good for you to know alternative, but know what each one is doing and what it means, the implication of what you are doing. Okay, so that's that about that. Let's move to the in operator. But the in operator is best explained with loop. So I will quickly introduce it to for loop unofficially. We're still going to look into it very well, but let me introduce it to it because I want to explain the in operator. What is the in operator doing? It's actually helping us to check if we have something in this list already. I want to know if a particular element has occurred here. Like I want to see, so I have a program here. Say write a program to check if Iron Man is in the list and displays yes if it is there, otherwise it should display no. Okay, so I'm going to use a couple of things here, a loop and a control structure, the if, else, and elif. I won't go too deep, but I just want to show in. The in is best, you most time when you will use it with a for loop or while loop, all of those things. So suppose I want to answer this question. Okay, so we do for anything, iterator, maybe for any element, LM, it can be for I, anything, but It just means for elements in Avengers. Avengers. And anytime you use the for loop, you have to end it with a colon. Okay, that will indent your code. This means this first line is saying, go and look into the list called Avengers. Go and look into that. Now, by the time I write this single line, this is going to go through the list one by one, starting from the very beginning. So the very first time, LM will be representing the first thing inside that list. So when you do for LM in Avengers, all the things inside Avengers is now represented by LM, but it's picking it one by one. So the first time we run that, LM represents orc. Then we now say, okay, what's the next thing? We want to check if Iron Man is in the list. But remember, our LM is standing for element in the list. So we now do, okay, if LM is equals to, remember I told you double equals to is actually the equality sign, not the assignment operator of equal sign. If LM is equals to Iron Man, anytime you use if, it's also a conditional statement. You also end with colon. If LM is equals to Iron Man, this is saying if LM is in Avenger, what do? Print yes. Then the next is say otherwise. No, that means S. It has to be in the same line with if. S. And also when you do that, you end with a colon. S print no. Let me run this and then ask. But this is checking. I purposely introduced this. I can answer this in a single line, just like in operator, just check. But this is checking through it one by one. And I just purposely do that to introduce the concept of follow. But what this is doing, it checks, it goes through the list and pick the first element and check, oh, is orc the Iron Man I'm talking about? No, it prints no. It's going to skip. It's going to do this, and once it check this line, it's just going to skip the next line because that condition is not satisfied and come here and print no. When it moves here, it realizes, oh, that's equal to, and then it gives me no straight. It gives me yes because that's equals to the Iron Man. Then it does that for the other one, and then gives me the answer. Oh, the others are not, they are not Iron Man, all of that. Do you understand the concept of this loop, this small question? Any question on that? Hello?
No question, sir. I understand.
No, sir.
Okay, good. So that's that. I just introduced, we will still do for loop mainly, but I just introduce you to, I want to use the in operator. We could also, so most time for loop, the in operator will be used in a loop standard and all of that. So, but you will get to understand it better when we do for loop. But I introduce you to that in case you are not familiar with it. Okay. So the function, I may skip all of these. The max, the mean, they are also, you can find the maximum using the max function, max in the list. You can find the len, all of those things are there. If I do max of list one, it's going to give me 510. You can find the minimum. So the same thing for sum, for mean, average, you're also going to do like the sum and divide by the length and all of that. I've explained this, convert it to list, convert the tuple to list using the list function. I explained all of that. So I will explain this, but after for loop, I'm going to give you an assignment to write your own sorting algorithm to sort any kind of list. So, and you write that algorithm without using any built-in function, but that will be after we teach for loop. It's going to get a little bit a little bit tougher as we move on. But let's look at what the sorting, and then I think that's where I will stop, and then I will maybe, let's see, challenge you with a simple question here, maybe like 2 of them after this exercise. Or after least comprehension. So let's have let's quickly look at sorted, sort and sorted. So from the name is sort, you can sort a list in ascending or descending, like you want it to move from smallest to biggest or biggest to smallest, something like that. That's what we use sorting for. So, but sorted and sort, they are two different things. Sorted is a function, sort is a method. Remember, we call it a method because you start with that function like this. But for method, you call it on a particular thing. You will see it here. So sorted, if I want to sort this list, one, let me come and press Shift Tab to see. By default, it's going to sort in ascending order because the reverse here is false. But if I set reverse to true, it's going to sort in descending order. So let's not put that. Let's just do this. So sorted, oh, sorry, it's list one, not list. So you can see this sort it in ascending order, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 7. And if you want to sort it in ascending order, just press the reverse equals to true. And then you can see it goes from in descending order. It goes from the highest to the smallest. Now, this is a function. That's why we start it. We start writing sorted. But the equivalent of it is the sort method. Why is it a method? So they use these words interchangeably, function, method. They actually think the same thing, but they are different in their name because of the way they are used. So it's a method because we first call the list, and then we put dot, and then you can now use sort. So if I do that, so the method will not return the output, except but it will do that in place. Meaning, by in place means if I call list one now, the effect would have been taking place. You can see now. That's because of this dot sort. Sorted doesn't affect the original list. If let me comment this out and apply just sorted and call the original list. You see, it's not affected even though I use the function. So you see why the two are different. Sorted, except I assign the result of sorted to a new variable. But if you want the sorting to take effect, then you have to use a method called dot sort. Then that will sort the original by just doing that. So you can see that affects, and you can also have the reverse equals to true. You can also do that. That will affect the original and do that in descending. Do you have a question here? Any question? Okay, good. I've talked about append and extend. We've done that up there. We've seen the difference between the two. Okay. So I've explained that. I've explained sorted and sort just now. I will leave insert to you. Insert is just you want to put something in a list, but you have to specify where you want to put it. Okay, that's what this is doing. Insert Captain America in the second position. I just supply the index, that's all. And that would do that. I know I'm moving fast, but that's because you are growing and you're a student. You learn faster than those who have graduated. Yeah. So after list comprehension, I'm going to leave dictionary to another class, and I want you to do this exercise. Okay? Are we okay with that?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So list comprehension is one thing you should ever try to understand, because you will use them a lot. By the time we start working with data, real life data, how to analyze them, some of you doing statistics, you appreciate it better. There are all those things, some of your professors like Dr. Oyeka, all of those that are teaching you and they don't use data, maybe you understand it better and all of this, you understand it better now, like you can play with data. But before we get there, I'm taking you through this route, and you'll be using list comprehension in most of your code. List comprehension is not any new thing. It's just for loop. But instead of writing a different line, like instead of writing multiple lines, I can use list comprehension to write the same code in a single list, in a single line. For instance, we have a question here. Write a program to get the cube of each number in the list. So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My goal is to display the cube of this list. How do you even do that? Let's forget about list comprehension. How do you do that? Anybody? Any idea? Our professors here, Dimeji, Vera, Idris, and many, all of
We
you.
can
Mhm.
we can get the cube of each of the element. Maybe when we loop through each of them with 4 or something.
Okay, 4. Let's say I in list 1. What happens?
So there should be, if we don't want to use any built-in function, then we can say I times I times I. So that's like cube of each of them.
Instead of using the I times I times I, you can actually
You can
use
just
the I
use
times
I
times 3.
exponential equals to.
So let me put print so that we can see the result. I exponential. What do you mean by exponential? Where on my keyboard? What's exponential?
Double asterisk.
Oh, double asterisk. Awesome. 3. That's exactly what you should do. So the double asterisk is exponential, is raised to power. So the number you supplied after the double asterisk is what specify the power you want. If I put power 2, that means I want a square. If I put power 3, that means I want a cube. So if I do that, you can see we get the cube of all of that. Now, what is now list comprehension? List comprehension, so it can get tougher than that. You will soon see. List comprehension can put all of this in a single line. And you know, there is no way. So if I want to have access to the result of the, maybe I will create, using this idea, I can create an empty list called this. And then instead of printing, I can say, let's append the result. Let's put those things together now. So I create an empty list and I say for I in list 1, or let's create this empty list outside the for loop. Outside the for loop, that's where I want to put my result. Then I said for I in list 1, so my empty list dot append and append the result. What result? I raised to power 3. So if I now later come and call my L1, you can see it has the cube of all of this. So that's using this idea. So with this same idea, let's see if we can do this in a single line. It's still the same concept, the same code, but in a different way. So to use list comprehension is just like a for loop wrapped inside a single list. So you start by writing your for loop for I in list 1. Now, what do I want? What I want will be, the result I want should be what will be in the first thing inside that list. So the result I want is I raised to power 3, right? So
Yes, sir.
that's exactly what comes at the first thing inside that list. So I first write my for loop for I in list 1. Then what I want, the result, that's what comes in the first position in that list. That's why I don't need to use a pen. So if I call my L2 now, see, the L2 equals to the same thing that you have done here. You just do your for I in list 1. What I want to do, I want to raise I to power 3. That will be what will be in the first position inside that list. That's all. And then I have, anytime I call L2, L2 stands for the cube. If I want square of it, I just do that. L2 stands for the square of everything in that list. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
What do you want to go further? We have a new list. Write a program to get the square of the even numbers, just the even numbers alone. You can try using normal for loop. You can try using using list comprehension. 2 different people or 3 different people to answer the same question. Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me your code. Yeah, I'll write it. Or you want to write and put it in the chat? Anyone? Let's be fast.
I want to say it out, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Right. Yeah, I want to use this comprehension. So I can use L2 equals I raised to power 2.
For I raised to power 2.
I raised to power 2.
Oh, okay. I always recommend you writing your code before you come to the final answer, but go ahead.
For I
I'm listening, please be fast.
For I in list 1, if I then modulus of I is equal to 0. If I modulus 2 is equal to 0.
This guy is a programmer.
Then print. Okay, if I equals to then that's
Yeah. So thank you, Kudus. That's very correct. I believe you are saying this on your own. Okay. So for I in list 1, print I raised to power 2 if I divided by 2 has a remainder of 0. That's what it means. So this percent sign is called modulo, and it gives us the remainder of dividing I by 2. So since I have even numbers, and by definition of even number is any number that after being divided by 2 has a remainder of 0. So I'm saying go through element of list 1, give me the square of that element if that element is a number that after I divided it by 2, I will get a remainder of 0. So this condition is what reduces the result. So if I call on my L3, now you will see that it's only square of the even number. Square of 2, 4, square of 4, 16, this 36, 64, and 100. Question, please. Are we good?
Yes, sir.
You guys are smart. So I will skip dictionary for now. We'll come back to that next week. Let me assign you to a group quickly. I want you to do these 2 questions. At least if you can tackle question 1, question 2, you can play with question 3 during the week and the rest. But question 1 and 2, at least for the remaining time we have. Do you want to give it a try?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So let's see if the breakout room will work now. Okay, I want to recreate. So I said I don't want to put some people together. So I don't want to put Idris and Dimeji together. So let me move. Okay. So this should give you, did you get any notification now? Awesome. So you can join now. You can join the group.